Howdy campers. It's been a while, but I'm back. Still not free from refracture risk. That is May, but I am back on board Ellie. Duke. And basically all the ponies are in work now, so if Ellie's the only one being ridden at the moment, but they're all being lunged and long reined, so hopefully we will get some fun this year. I've taken a bit of a slight U-turn on what I said when this disaster happened on what I was going to do this year. So this is my week rabbity intro. So the first half is quite talky because it's all about like broken collarbone, rehab, all that sort of stuff. But then we do get some more horse action as it goes on. So stick with it, and I'll explain at the end what the 2025 season may be looking like for us. Catch you then. Howdy folks. So we are, I think, 37 days into a broken collarbone. So it occurred thanks to my darling horses, of course. So Duke's playing with a toy. So basically I thought I'd put them in this bit of paddock that we've got that had quite a lot of grass in it. Give them a bit more green grass for an hour or so while I was just like mucking out and doing all that sort of stuff. And then I went to feed them and they basically just went berserk. So Ellie sort of stampeded at Nico, and then Nico obviously then stampeded with her. So I was not stood in the way, but I was stood somewhere where I was like, well, actually, he's probably not going to come this way because he's either going to go straight past me or he's going to like handbrake turn and go around the corner. But no, he did not. He literally like ran into me. In all fairness, he couldn't go anywhere like the other side of him because Ellie was there. So I went flying and landed underneath my trailer's hitch. So I was very lucky because obviously I landed underneath it. Imagine if I'd landed on it. But yes, immediately knew I'd done something. Was up there, phoned Ben, and was like, I've definitely actually injured myself this time. Like, you might need to come and take me to hospital. I thought I dislocated my shoulder. So anyway, we went to the hospital, local hospital. They were very, very good. It was 15 minutes before their x-ray was due to close, but they did stay open late so that I didn't have to go to our county hospital because the county hospital had like a 3-hour waiting time. And I was like, if I have to go there, I'm just going to come back here tomorrow because I'm not waiting for 3 hours. But they were brilliant. They stayed open late, so, well, 15 minutes later so that they could x-ray me there, and turns out I broke my collarbone. Apparently that is better than dislocating because when you break it, you've obviously just got to wait for it to heal, whereas dislocating, although they pop it back in, it is a lot worse for your tendons and your ligaments and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, hopefully tomorrow I have got my hospital appointment, my next checkup. So I'm hoping we'll be able to lose the sling. But anyway, this is going to be a little bit of a sort of like rehab video, I guess, and sort of like a stages of broken collarbone from I don't know, disillusional to getting back on the horse, hopefully. But anyway, if you're interested, stick along for the ride. You never know, it might you might get a broken collarbone one day. It is the most common bone to break, usually by rugby players, but I guess being tackled by a 500-kilogram horse is worse than being tackled by, I don't know, a 100-kilogram man. New rug day. Well, new rug day yesterday. Week one, obviously, the first day I did it, I knew I'd done something. It was doing this like weird, like horrible, like clicky. Well, as I say, it felt like it was dislocated, so I'm assuming that's maybe a bit what it feels like when you dislocate. But it kept doing these excruciating crunches. So it didn't really hurt like the entire time, but you're kind of living in fear of doing those crunches, because I mean those crunches were severe. Like my physio says I've got a pretty high pain threshold, but yeah, those crunches are something you don't want to experience. But after, I don't know, 3 or 4 days, it did start to stop crunching. Whether or not that is because I was so conscious of it, I was obviously avoiding doing movements that might aggravate it. I also was really lucky because about 3 or 4 days later, I actually got norovirus. So I was taking painkillers, so I was taking ibuprofen and paracetamol. But obviously when I got norovirus, I was being sick. So I ended up stopping taking any pain relief because I obviously didn't know, like, if it had stayed in. That's disgusting, isn't it? But you know, we've all had norovirus before, so had to stop. And then actually, by the time I recovered from that, which was about stop being sick and everything else, about 3 days after that, and then didn't quite feel right for another 10 days. But at that point, I basically stopped taking pain relief. So into the second week, as I say, not that painful, still scared of the crunching, even though I hadn't done it for a while. But kind of like just getting by, muscles starting to hurt. I've said all along the real victim in my broken collarbone has been every other muscle in my body other than like the actual bone itself. So yeah, week 2 was when it started to get sore.
Snoozy baby. Little snoozies.
So week 3 was probably my worst week. Week 3 and 4, I reckon, so far. Week 3 was when my muscles really started to hurt. So my muscles around my neck, my muscles down the back of my shoulders, and actually my breastbone like muscle on the side that I broke it, and also the muscle behind my shoulder blade on the broken side. So I think this stemmed from, well, everything really. So because obviously wearing a sling, you can see it here, it's the blue thing, so it goes across your front and across your back, and this side was starting to hurt. So I think what I was doing to try and mitigate that was I was kind of lifting my arm and almost like holding it without the sling, but then I was obviously firing up the muscles on that side, which was then in turn making those ache. So that was a bit of a vicious circle. I did start taking some pain relief a little bit, but I was a bit put off because obviously I was so ill with the norovirus when I took the painkillers, and even though it had nothing to do with it, does kind of like put you off. But I used a lot of tiger balm, which is a bit like ibuprofen, like deep heat, that sort of stuff, but it's all herbal. And my mum actually got me a V pillow, which I think is more for people who are pregnant, but actually it was really, really comfortable and it made such a difference. So that was like the muscular pain I've had has probably been the worst thing so far out of all of it. I'd say week 4 to 5, like it was feeling better towards the end of week 4, but then Christmas party season kicked off, so I went out to a riding club dinner, and I wore some little heels, like not my normal kind of heels, like normally I go out with like stilettos on, but absolute no when you've got a broken collarbone. So I just went out in some little heels. They're only about, I don't know, that high, like pretty chunky, but I think that I walked, I wasn't walking funny, like if you looked at me you'd think, oh, she's walking funny, but I think I walked funny, like trying to mitigate any risk to causing pain, and by doing that flared up more pain. So that was when my muscle in my sort of breast areas fired up, and I think that was because I was kind of maybe like pushing out my breast a lot to try and keep my shoulder in place. But But that went after a few days, but it was terrifying going to Christmas parties because obviously people are drinking, everyone's merry, which is fine. Normally I'd be all for it, but it is terrifying when there's lots of people, all a bit drunk, all a bit rowdy, having a good time, jumping around, dancing, which is great. I'm glad you're having a good time, but terrifying when you don't want anyone to knock you. So we're in week 5 to 6 now. And actually, it's feeling good. Like, I mean, it doesn't feel 100%. And in week 1, I was pretty delusional, I guess. I was kind of like, oh, it's just going to be 6 weeks in the sling. And then as soon as the sling comes off at the end of the 6 weeks, it'd just be crack on, like it'd be fine. And they were like, no, that's not going to be the case. Like, it's 6 weeks with the sling on. And then we see how it is. And then if it's okay, then you have physio. And I was like, yeah, it'll be fine. 6 weeks out, sling, back on the horse. Don't feel like that at all now. So I've got 5 more days until it's officially been 6 weeks. But as I say, my hospital appointment's tomorrow. And I definitely don't feel like I am able to like go mad with it. Like, I definitely won't be doing that or like that or anything like that. I've been doing some little exercises with it, very like minute ones, which my doctor actually didn't tell me to do, but they are from NHS sources. So I've been following those, which I think have helped. But I've not wanted to push it too much, obviously, without seeing the doctor. But yeah, I don't feel like I can drive because I've not been allowed to drive at all. So poor Ben has been doing everything. Obviously, I've not been allowed to do anything with the horses in case they smash me in the shoulder again. So he's been doing the horses. I'm not even allowed to walk the dog. So it has been a bit cabin fevery. And I don't feel like I'll be able to get back in the car, but I am feeling stronger. I do feel like initially I struggled to like wash up, which I was just doing in that last video, last shot. So I can do that a bit better now. I can lift things, not obviously with that arm, like I can lift a cup and like a kettle and stuff, but like lifting the Hoover, when I lifted it with my opposite arm, I could feel like pain, like discomfort when I lift it with my other arm, but I don't get that anymore. And when we went up the stables on Sunday, I was able to lift buckets with my good side and didn't feel like the pressure on that side. Probably shouldn't own up to that, but yeah, anyway. So it's feeling stronger this week, so I am pretty hopeful for tomorrow.
Happy ponies, because they're in a new paddock. You happy, boy? So happy. So you were very happy when you got put out. Got this whole paddock. Nico has pre-eaten it, so Cheeky's having the best time. Getting to run around the field. Hey, Cheeky. Hey, Cheeky. There's Equilite jacket. Keeps you seen in the dark, doesn't it? Typical spaniel. Doesn't hold still for very long.
Had my hospital visit the other day. It was very positive in that the collarbone has healed basically as good as it possibly could do. She said that how it had broken and like healed and everything would be like the dream scenario if they'd done surgery. So yeah, couldn't have got any more positive in terms of how it's healed and how it's looking. So my instructions are to either wean myself off of the sling or you can just completely chuck it. She said like a lot of people by this point just want to get rid of the sling, which actually I thought I would want to wean myself off of it a bit, but actually I am loving not having to use it. But I am still using it at night because I don't want to like aggravate it. And I'm definitely still using it when I go out, because when you're going out you don't think about it quite so much. So I'm still using it on those occasions. A lot of it is actually not to do with like the pain, but it's more like the fear. So you've got the fear of not wanting it to do the excruciating crunch again. So that's a lot of it, is just kind of getting over your fear. We went through my range of motion and that was pretty good thanks to those exercises that I had been doing, which I didn't get told off for. And she's given me a few more exercises and did actually help me like push the boundaries of where I thought I was at, so I can actually, my range of motion can go further than what I thought, so that's good. She has referred me to the physio. She said she didn't know how long the physio would take, and I looked online and it says there's a 38-week wait for an NHS physio. So they've done that, but I had a discussion with her about seeing my own physio, which she's perfectly happy with. So she's going to put everything in a letter so that my physio can work their magic, because she's amazing. So I've already contacted her, and she said as soon as we've got the letter we can crack on. But in terms of timescales, I'm looking at another 6 weeks before I can do anything, any like heavy lifting or anything on that side. I did speak to her about like getting back to normal, basically like riding and driving. I have got to get my full range of motion back before I can do anything like that. And also be like comfortable with fast movements. So obviously like driving, you need quick reactions. You don't want to be like, I don't know, doing something where you have to move quick and then you're like, oh, that really hurt, and then that affects your reaction. Same with the horses. But I am allowed to start doing like Pilates, obviously being sensible, and doing a little bit more, as long as it's not basically putting too much weight on that side. She did say that it takes 3 to 6 months for a collarbone to fully heal. So I do need to be careful. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to get back on board in maybe January. Duke. Hoping to get back on board in January, and just doing some hacking, probably on Ellie. I am hoping to start doing some in-hand work prior to then though. I'm just going to see how it goes with my like range of motion, but actually since I've not been using the sling, it's kind of got pretty quick. But I would rather do the long and slow road and it heal properly than risk hurting it again, because she said that if I did break it again, the recovery period will be much longer if I break it at this stage, because it's likely to shatter. So it is a case of taking it slow. And she said as long as I do take it slow and steady, in 2 years' time, she said they'll x-ray and they probably wouldn't know which collarbone I'd done it to. So that is the current info. So we're going to go up the stables in a bit, and Ben is going to do something with Nico, because Nico's looking very dejected at the moment. I did give him a week off before this happened, so he's actually approaching his 7th week of doing nothing, and as we all know, he doesn't really like not having a job, and I think he's coped quite well with it, but I think that's because the others haven't been doing anything. But when I was able to go up last week, the couple of times I did go up, he did look a bit like unloved. So yeah, Ben is going to do something with him today, nothing too taxing because obviously they've not done anything for, well, he'll be 6-7 weeks approaching, so just going to do some like walking around the field basically, and my mum is going to come up and help me give them a brush. What is this monkey doing? Boy Nico. And then just try and make him stand along there in a sec. I've had a good ride. Yeah. You've been a good boy, haven't you? He's a good egg. He's been doing the horses for the last 7 weeks. Doing a pretty grand job, if I say so myself. And now, bless him, he's got the anxiety of not keeping up with the poo, so trying to make a good dent in that, bless him. Very lucky to have these people that support us with our horses, especially when it's not their chosen hobby. I don't even have to trowel, this grass is so long. Oh, hard life for you, eh? Oh, so good. The stockings don't look very white anymore, do they? In fact, I mean, they don't look very cute at all. But it's fine. Good boy.
Bobby.
So if you watch my last vlog, which was basically like the disaster announcement, you will know that we did decide to separate Ellie and Nico just to make it easier for Mum and Ben, because they basically looked after them the entire time. But actually they seem to be quite happy that way, and Nico is not coming in with kicks or bites anymore, and they're all quite happy in their individual paddocks, so I think we are going to keep them that way. So fast forward to the new year, sort of Christmas time, and I became a lot more mobile, partly because Ben came down with the plague, so I had to kind of step up and get going, which I think helped with my recovery a bit more, and much to his delight, I was just about able to change rugs, as that was Ben's most hated task. So things have kind of fast forwarded now. So as I say, I'm more able-bodied, so I've started doing more. And all the ponies are now back doing work of some kind.
Sit. Oh, very good. Good lad. Come on. Good boy. Very good.
So I struggled a bit with how to structure the kind of bringing the ponies back into work aspect of this, but I've decided to do it horse by horse. So obviously starting with Nico. With all three of them, I started just walking them in hand. This was partly for them, obviously they've not done anything for weeks, but also for me, I needed to get myself back in shape, so we're all kind of starting from basics. So I think I did about 2 weeks of just literally walking around in hand, making sure that, you know, they were walking nicely, standing when I asked them to, just all of that sort of like obedience, groundwork sort of stuff.
Good. Balance. Steady. Psst. Good. Good boy. Come, get. Keep that balance down there. Good. Walk. Good boy. Walk on.
So I then progressed to long reining, and I can only long rein Nico and Ellie because Lexi goes a little bit insane if you try and put long reins on her. But anyway, we'll get to them when we get there. So with Nico, we started long reining after those couple of weeks in hand, and obviously we just did stuff on the flat without any poles to begin with. Mostly just walk and trot, occasionally canter, depending on what the ground was like. And I do think the time off has given him, well, it's done him some good, because he is a bit more balanced than he was before. But we're obviously working on that as well.
Good boy, very good.
Then obviously to keep it a bit exciting, up the sort of work we're doing, I added some poles. So obviously initially started with just kind of basic poles on the ground, just in a straight line, and then we've developed that to do different sort of on the ground grids. The pole work has really helped again with his balance. Like there's some exercises that we've done which he would never have been able to do before, but he's really showing like some good signs of getting some good nice balance now, which is encouraging. He has also had a bit more of a sensible outlook as well. Like he's not been, I mean, there's been the odd occasion where he's like put his head down and wanted to have like a bit of fun and like a bit of a buck, but generally he's been very much a gentleman, and I've not really had any occasions where I've had to kind of drop the reins. Because I do still have the risk of refracture until May, if there was a scenario where he was being really, really silly and was going to like yank my arms out, I have got to just let go of the lines, because I can't risk falling over or anything like that and refracturing. Similarly, I can't risk getting back on him until May. He's 4 years old and I have never felt unsafe on him, so he's obviously was lightly backed last year. And, you know, he's been very sensible every time I've ridden him, and I've never felt unsafe on him. But obviously, being a 4-year-old, he's young. There is a greater risk of me coming off of him. So, you know, he's happy being long-reined. What I would do with him at the moment, under saddle, I can achieve on the long reins. So, you know, he's happy. The more he's long-reined, the more it's going to benefit me when I get back on board anyway, because he's just learning all the time. And it still means that, you know, where I would have maybe been taking him out hacking under saddle, I've just changed my viewpoint on it, and now we're just going to take him out and long rein him. So it's kind of the same in terms of we would be doing the same stuff. It's just that we're doing it on long reins. The only thing, obviously, that has changed slightly is I did want to do BD Quest with him. I am still going to do that, but obviously it's going to be later in the year because, you know, I can't go tomorrow because he's not under saddle. But I am thinking that I might do some of my costume classes with him in hand. And I may have just purchased an in-hand costume to get him out and about, to give him the exposure to some of the shows, you know, before he's ridden and doing the dressage. And also, if we do the in-hand costume classes, like now up until May, then we can look to maybe do the ridden costume classes a bit later in the year, which is a good introduction for him for a couple of years' time when I would like to put him under side saddle, because he'll obviously be used to having like the costume dresses on him from astride work. So that's kind of how his year is looking, hopefully all going to plan, and then just, you know, out doing lots of hacking, seeing lots of sights and that sort of thing. I have decided that I don't really want to show him in Welsh classes or like M&M classes this year, because with him being a 4-year-old, he's obviously out of young stock classes, so he would have to go in against adults, and being a 4-year-old, he's not going to necessarily be as developed or as muscular as maybe like an 8-year-old, which he would be against. So I don't really think it's fair to ask that of him, and especially with us having like a bit of a slow start, due to me, of course, being a bit broken. So I might do the odd like little local show with him just as a bit of fun, but he's probably not going to be going to any county shows. We might do maybe one agricultural show, because there is one that's got Palomino classes, so we may do that, but I think this year we'll be mostly sticking to the costume classes and hopefully the BD Quest.
Clever baby. Good. Right, steady. Steady. Good. Good boy. Good. 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 Steady. Steady. Good boy. Another jab, steady. You might live to regret this. There's your handsome boy. Handsome. Little Munchkin's gone naked too. Good girl. Good girl.
So, lazy Lexi. Lexi is always a bit challenging because she doesn't want to do exercise. But anyway, similar to Nico, I did some in-hand work with her. She is quite used to doing in-hand work because she's either lunging or doing lead stuff. So, you know, it's pretty normal for her. The same with the others. We started off obviously doing stuff without poles and then introduced the poles to make it a little more exciting. I also try and do a lot of pole work with them, you know, for suppleness, balance, all that sort of stuff, but also to help build muscle and, you know, get them to use their backs a bit more and stretch out. And particularly Lexi, she does get a bit of a tweaky back sometimes. So the physio has told us that, you know, the more pole work she can do, the better. When I lunge Lexi, she does not really respect any part of it. There's no point using a lunging whip with her because she doesn't care about it. So I found that the best way to get Lexi lunging is to just use the rope. The loose end that I've got, you'll see I basically wallop it along my leg. And that seems to be the most effective way. And when we do canter work on the lunge, I tend to end up kind of running with her as well. But when I say doing canter work on the lunge, like, that has always been a bit of a challenge. But she is more up for it at the moment. I have started her on Turmerade. Partly because she was a bit clicky, but also she was a bit like, she had runny eyes, they get a bit allergy-ish. don't really, that's not very good English. So I have started her on that, and actually she's really been looking well since I've started her on that, and I am quite sceptical of things and additives and stuff. But I'm keen to keep going with this one because she is looking good. She's enjoying life. I mean, don't get me wrong, she didn't look miserable before, but for me to be able to get her to canter on the lunge was virtually impossible before, whereas now she's like up for it, you know, she wants to go. So I am going to put the other two on it as well and see if I notice any difference in them, but I think I'll definitely be keeping her on it. So Lexi, being a Welsh Section A, does have to be worked pretty much all year round because we're fortunate that we've got very good ground, very good grass, and Lexi is a very good doer. So we do have to keep her in work as much as possible just to keep the weight off of her because obviously we don't have any little person to ride her. And to be honest, she's pretty sassy, so I'm not sure I'd want a little person to ride her anyway. Lexi is going to be stepping up this year. Obviously last year she went out to a show. I think I wanted to take her to more than one show, but it just worked out that she only ended up going to one show. But she is going to be kind of stepping up and doing the county shows and the agricultural shows in hand. So very excited about taking her out. I'm not sure she will be, but I'm sure she'll appreciate the hay and the haylage and the grass that she'll get on show days. One thing I have really tried to hot up on this year is doing carrot stretches, or in this case, horse lick stretches. So I am doing stretches with all three of them on their days off. Purely doing it on their days off, just, you know, in a time element sort of thing, because I do try and work all three of them each day. So whenever they have a day off, they do their horse licks stretches. Nico goes absolutely wild for horse licks. I'm pretty sure he would do anything for horse licks, like literally anything. And Lexi's probably the same. Ellie, being Ellie, bit more temperamental.
Good girl. Good.
So now we get to Ellie. Again, obviously a couple of weeks in hand, then moved on to the long reins, just doing flat work, and then introduced the poles.
Good.
Ellie is very good on the long reins, but she's very sensitive. So I can't lunge Ellie, because if I lunge her, she will just constantly trot. So if I do ever lunge her, I do it with long reins. Equally, whoever I'm lunging and whoever I'm long reining with, I will always, if I'm doing circles, will walk a big circle myself, just because, you know, I don't want them to do constant 20-metre circles. So we cover a lot of miles. So Ellie definitely held on to her fitness a lot. Like, once I started doing slightly more taxing long reining with her, I could tell she just hadn't lost a lot of fitness. Whereas Nico could very much tell that he'd lost it. But I guess as she's older, they do say that when they're older, they kind of prepare themselves to come back into work, so they don't lose as much fitness. Or at least that's what they told me on a British Riding Club webinar. Whereas a young horse like Nico, because he's not used to kind of being in work and then maybe having a break and then coming back into work, they haven't yet kind of built their body up to behave in that way. I guess, is that the right way of saying it? But anyway, yes, she's not lost very much fitness at all, which, you know, I'm really chuffed about. And she has been going really nicely. I have changed her bit because she was just like quite tense. I thought she was just tense anyway. So I've got her in a new Schul, however you say it, Wilkie bit at the moment. It is on the loose ring attachment as opposed to the bit that you can connect it to the bottom. I don't know about bits. I know what they're called. I don't know what the parts of them are called. So she's on the loose ring part of it, as opposed to, I guess, like the almost like gag action of it. And she does seem a lot more relaxed in that bit. So we're going with it for now to see how she goes. But she's been going very nicely and has been stretching a bit more with that, because she's quite often quite tense and like she'll almost pull her head into her chest, and she can be very strong, whereas using this bit she's had a lot more kind of like long and low, which is really what I want for her. I want her to be kind of long and low and working over her back, as opposed to, like, you know, funneling it all through her neck. So what I also added in with Ellie is I worked her with the roller for a little while on the long reins, but then I did progress and use a saddle with the long reins, because I wanted her to get accustomed again to having the weight of the saddle on her back before I could entertain getting back on her. She's 21 this year, and I probably do mollycoddle her, but I basically wanted to give her the best chance of coming back into work, you know, feeling good and going nicely. So we took it slowly, and just built it up slowly and steadily. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then oh well. I've done what I can. But yeah, she has been going really, really nicely, and I think having the time off has actually done her some good, because I think it was kind of long enough that
Fab, good girl.
we could kind of bring her back and almost like rehab it, I suppose, and
Fab, good girl.
start as we mean to go on. So
Fab, good girl.
for example, on the long rein, I've been making her stand, and she's a nightmare when she's ridden to stand, because she'll stand for about 2 seconds, and if you breathe or like move a fingernail or like anything, she's like, right, okay, we're ready to go. Whereas doing the long reining, we've actually been doing more of that, and she's listening to it. So like, I'll get her to stand, and she will just stand. So, you know, it's been quite rewarding.
Girl. Did you then?
I do genuinely think everyone should long rein, because it does just instill like good practices. Like, and also it's good for you because you can see your horse moving on the ground. You can see how they're moving from behind. So it gives you kind of like a good eye for anything that might be going wrong or anything that you need to improve. And it's been really good for me because obviously it's made me a bit fitter doing all the walking, and it's also had my arms in the position for riding. So it's set me up really, really well for rehab for myself to get back on board.
Stand. Good girl. That's it. Walk on. Duke kindly providing the distractions.
Not much you can do. So finally, a week later than was initially planned, thanks to 3 storms passing through the southwest, finally back on board. So I am wearing my body protector, and Ben kindly got me some shoulder pads which are supposed to lessen the chances of you breaking your collarbone if you fall off. So it seems sensible to wear that, so I am going to be wearing that right up until May. I do feel like an ice hockey player in it. It's been a bit weird for me actually to try and adjust to riding in it, because prior to this I would only have ever worn a body protector doing like cross-country training or riding Nico. So to wear the body protector and the shoulder pads every time I'm riding, it's made me feel pretty lollopy. But it is what it is. It's better to be safe than sorry. And my nice physio has given me some foam to put underneath it on my left side, because believe it or not, I mean actually it's not that surprising, but my arm on my left side is much weaker and has less muscle than my right arm, so it doesn't actually fit as well, which is ironic given I'm wearing it to protect the left arm, which is weak. But we'll get there. Ellie was very good, but to be honest I knew she would be, because she's my old faithful, bless her. So yeah, just a case of kind of doing a bit more riding, getting out. She will be having shoes on next week. The vet has checked her over. She's been given the go ahead. She's all good to go when she had her vaccinations and her health check and whatnot. It's breezy today, so the plan for Ellie is to do BD Quest also, but to do it sideways, and also do the side saddle shows, so like the area shows, and hopefully if they've got any classes, agricultural shows, and hopefully some costume stuff as well. So that is the plan for 2025, all going well. But yeah, I think she would rather have been retired really. She's a bit shocked when she had her saddle back on, but I did take her out for a hack the other day and she was wired, so I think she will enjoy her first gallop when she's fit enough. Not sure I'll be able to stop, but hey ho.
You silly sausage. A bit soggy.
Oh, it's so hard to get back into like vlogging, if you can call what I do vlogging. I've been meaning to make this outro for a few days since I did the intro, but I just keep forgetting because it's been a while and I'm out of practice. But anyway, so obviously quite a long vlog, quite chatty. I am doing quite well with my shoulder. It's just generally a bit sore, but I'm seeing NHS physio and my private physio. NHS physio is very happy with how I'm doing, very pleased with my progress. My private physio also like really pleased. She's been the person who really deserves all the credit because she's been brilliant. I've been seeing her every 2 weeks and she's been giving me exercises, so I've got pretty good range of movement back. The only thing I'm really struggling with is sort of like putting my arm straight above my head. I can't get it straight than that, but obviously can't move. I can get it up, but I can't get it like perfectly straight. So we're working on that. And the other thing is getting my arm behind my back, so I can't wear like tops or dresses or anything that have like a zip or like a button at the back, because I don't have the range of motion in either of my arms now to do that. So we're getting there. Obviously I'm back on board Ellie in my ice hockey outfit, so I'm wearing the Champion body protector with the arm pads, shoulder pads, and I have had to pad out the shoulder pad on my left side because I've got so little muscle on there at the moment. So my brilliant physio again gave me some sort of like felty foam stuff to put underneath it that they use in rugby, so that's grand. So kind of hoping to crack on with Ellie. We had a little bit of a wobble at the beginning, but the vet's been out, so she seems to be going all good now, so that's good. She obviously will be 21 this year. So it's just about going out and having fun with her. I'm hoping to do side saddle stuff with her, and kind of pleasure rides and stuff. I don't know what we'll do jumping wise, just going to see how we go. Nico, he's in that weird age category at the moment where he's too old to be in the young stock classes, but I feel too young to go up against all the like full grown adults, so I don't see the point in doing that. So he will maybe just do the odd fun show. I might do some of the costume stuff with him, and also I still want to do the BD, but I am not going to be getting on him until May because, as I've probably already said, I am at high risk of refracturing if anything happens until then. And although I've never ever felt unsafe riding him, he's 4, so he's a higher risk, so it's not worth it. But obviously he's doing long reining. So that leaves a little Lexi, who will be stepping up a bit more this year. So she'll probably be doing all of like the county shows, the agricultural shows that don't have the side saddle classes, and doing the in-hand Welsh section A. So yeah, I'm quite excited about that because she's she's quite sassy, but she's also like quite low maintenance. So we all know that I do stress a little bit when I go to competitions, and hopefully it will just be like quite chill and relaxed. So that is the plan. I have got some stuff planned now already, well, like a bit weather pending, due to various different restraints on my part. But yeah, we are back, we're up and running. So thank you to everyone who stuck around while I basically posted really rubbish shorts. And hopefully we'll have some more exciting content coming up. So over and out for now. But yeah, thanks for watching. We'll catch up soon. Bye.